Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of World End Economica with me. My name is Fuds. I'm about to go out and eat with some rich guy. And in case you're wondering, I'm still watching Zeldathon on Twitch right now. It'll obviously end when this episode goes live, because this one's going live week tomorrow. But we're currently on a train of 2,945. 46. 47. Anyway, let's get back to a game. I could just watch Zeldathon all the time. That's why I'm recording this so late, because I've been watching it all week. The doorman opened the door promptly, and Barton got out of first. After a few words, the doorman nodded politely and sent a small message via a transmitter on his sleeve. As expected, Barton didn't need to explicitly pay for a limousine, and realised it was truly meant to have a reputation. This place has some great beats. Steak? Well, the steak sure is delicious, but I didn't say I loved history. It's about what guys in suspenders eat in a good old financial districts. There's only one thing. Barton had his jacket on his shoulders as usual, and even though I wasn't really that well dressed, we were both greeted with much respect when we entered the high-class restaurant. So what are we going to have? Steak tartare! Barton answered me like a kid. The meal was, to put it simply, delicious. There was no other way to describe it. And he must have just drunk all that drink, because it's going everywhere if he hadn't. Barton ordered without looking at the menu, effortlessly requesting one item after another. He drank a lot of vodka from shot glasses made out of crystal suitable for jewellery, and laughed out loud after telling me that it was a great vodka because even pros wouldn't be able to tell the difference in taste between different types of vodka. And after I'd said that, I'd never really had any alcohol before, I was given some soda, even though the appetizer berry liqueur I had was sweet and delicious. Steak tartare is a simple dish made by mixing raw meat with various ingredients and pounding it. It felt appropriate for it to be a favourite amongst the quick-tempered and large-minded men of a financial district. We talked about investments. There was a lot of conversation on personal matters. He asked me where I lived now, where we're not going to school, and what was I going to do in the future. No matter how lightly put it, Barton had totally won me over. It was probably that he wanted to keep me close. Probably only that he wanted to keep close by a freak who had claimed such investment performance at a young age. But for me, it was as if I'd died and gone to heaven. However, there's only one phrase he didn't say. Would you like to come work for me? I thought it was perhaps because it was my first time meeting him. However, his handshake when he parted was enthusiastic and long. Tonight was great. I'll email you again. He even dropped me off way over Main Street to the 6th House section. Around us were all trucks and personal cars, so the black limousine was totally out of the blue. I have to say, I couldn't help feeling proud of myself letting everyone see me shaking hands with Barton in front of a limo. I watched the limo until its taillights disappeared into the depths of the streets, then pretty much skipped my way back to a church. Oh, what dreadful fuss waits me here. It was already 11 o'clock. I'd likely get into a whole lot of trouble if I carelessly let myself get caught by the police. There were still a lot of people walking around at this hour. I chose past as many pedestrians as possible, ran through them and switched over to a back alley halfway. Today was the best day of my life. It wasn't just because of some pretty petty reason like having a Barton pay for everything. Rather, it was because I'd just had a small glimpse of a super high-class world of Newton City. I walked its streets. The upper echelons of Newton City meant the upper echelons of humankind. Barton was a real deal. Born in wealth as an investor, and to think it was that kind of person who called out to me. I was acknowledged. Senpai noticed me. While walking down the quieted down residential streets, I grit my teeth back and struggled to hold back the temptation to shout out, and thus getting into high spirits I started jumping from rooftop to rooftop until I arrived at the church. There I bumped into Lisa, who looked like she was drinking at a table in the yard of the second level. While I wasn't really obligated to tell Lisa that I was going to be walking out late at night, I felt a bit of guilt. However, glancing at Lisa's side, drank the wine in a glass, then got up from a chair. Coming properly through the door, what about dinner? Oh, we had mine. Didn't tell you before. I know, but how happy it looked, I was wondering if perhaps you were hungry. As she said that, my stomach did growl. I'd immediately thought I'd got full before, but perhaps it was just because I was nervous. Well, ate. Okay, so come down. Having said that, Lisa returned to her room and shut the window. I did as I was told, went down to the first floor, into a church, headed towards the main residence. Lights being left on had a certain tranquility to it in the early hours of the night. Lisa came down shortly and started warming up a meal for me. Where did you go? It didn't sound like she was grilling me, so I answered honestly. New York City. To meet a friend. I gathered a reason for her pause and Lisa's slightly teasing smile on her face when she turned around her shoulder to look at me. I could have friends. I figured I'd say something like that. Well, and a girl? Quit joking. You wouldn't believe that. Okay, sorry. As she slowly drifts off the left-hand side of the screen. Lisa shrugged and returned to cooking. And then she laid up various reheated dishes on the table. I was drawn in by the smell and came to a table as well. I guess that feeling of Satanness was nervousness after all. I dug into the food greedily. I have a bad habit of prying into people's personal matters, so I would love to ask more, but digging into a pilaf, I was chomping on my food and looked at Lisa wordlessly. I'm going to stop because she'd get angry. Good choice. I nodded and Lisa poked my head lightly. Besides, I thought to myself, it wasn't like she was my mum. She wasn't pushy and wasn't being annoying or anything. There's something else I wanted to talk to you about. I got up and looked at Lisa because she was quite a serious tone in her voice. What is it? Okay. When you left today, did you pass Chris on the way? Oh yeah, a big ass dude. That was Chris's dad, right? Yeah, sure was a big ass dude. Quit copying me. Lisa laughed happily at my comment. What is about that? Oh, what was that? It didn't look like a delivery. Well, you see. Lisa was squirming with her words. I collected the scattered pilaf into my mouth as I wondered what she was going on about. She was glancing left and right when timidly spoke like a Ghana. Chris's family wants to entrust to you their savings. Huh? I instantly exclaimed back, throwing rice everywhere. Lisa made her face and drew back. I didn't care, and asked again. What did you say? Hey, what were you doing? Well, we heard about what you guys are doing from Ghana. I stared at Lisa and collected on rice kernels and eventually started spilling the beans. Chris's family also borrowed money from Tayama. In other words, you know what I'm getting at, right? Chris, who'd wear clothes that didn't fit her, would help out with deliveries while skipping out with lunch. Her family. I quickly recognised what would drive them to entrust all their money to me, as well as the pitiful state they were in. They're different from us since they're running a business. It would be bad for their money to instantly disappear, since they wouldn't be able to restock. Besides, there isn't really a single person in these parts who'd be able to pay back a loan instantly. Therefore, they figured that if it was going to be taken away, we might as well choose in a way that it could be potential evidence to return. The flavour of the pilaf turned to nothingness. The pilaf had been loose and the feeling of chewing on them was great, but now I felt like I was chewing on rubber. I swallowed and drank the soup and then said, How much? 30,000. My first thought was that was a really tiny sum. Working and saving up my money ended up in a nest egg of 30,000. It was as if that gorgeous world of Newton City was a lie. And my debt? 80. Wait, more than twice? Well, that family's really struggled, so as a... I don't want to hear it. I know everyone has their own issues. Particularly my hometown was full of dudes like that. It was all stories of sadness and misery and uselessness. A lot of them were so terrible they could only talk happily as if they were detached from reality. Everyone's was pretty much the same. If that weren't the case, they wouldn't have come as far as the moon, moving to and fro from over tens of thousands of miles. And Hagana? I asked again. What did Hagana say? Hagana's second thoughts when he initially proposed trading with real money. Regardless of whether or not I wanted to accept their money, her opinion was more important. She said she wanted to accept it. And then, Lisa continued, she said she wanted to make a difference. I was easily able to manage her nodding, very sharp eyes and totally serious face. Success changed people. That statement was true, but Hagana probably selflessly wanted to help Chris and thought that it would work out. Even if you accept the money, what you're doing isn't really going to change, right? Lisa asked me. She was right. Even if we were able to take other people's money, what we were doing would remain essentially unchanged. However, there were two problems. There is a chance we'd lose money. I'm sure I know full well that fact. At least with this place, there was a sense of security since there was someone like me who could put up with debt if the worst should happen. However, other people obviously didn't have an idiot squatter like me around. Slowly but surely, they'd get cornered by their debt. Well, I said at this rate, they'd clearly never be able to pay off a debt, so I just wanted to entrust money to you. There is another issue. What? I paused for a second, but told myself this was something that had been said, and proceeded to say it. Compensation. I pronounced that word clearly without running away. I looked Lisa right in the eye with all seriousness. There's the issue of compensation. I don't plan on working for free. Lisa's expression truly changed. She looked at me with an uneasy expression, holding back a huge amount of feeling, whether it was an urge to cry or an urge to yell angrily. Compensation. That's right. I took a risk to experiment with this. It wasn't easy getting such investment technology into my hands. Furthermore, I have an agreement to pay my due share of a usage fee of Hagana's program. I don't care what Chris's family situation is. However, I won't do it without some sort of compensation. I took a deep breath and recalled Barton's dignified demeanour. An investor. It was an extremely theatrical declaration, but I didn't retreat from a centimetre from Lisa. I was even prepared to get into an argument and part ways. However, Lisa slowly opened her mouth at the end of his staring contest. At compensation. How much would it come out to be? 20% of earnings. The traditional cut hedge funds took. They'd gather money from customers and trade according to the decisions of their fund manager. They'd take 20% of the earnings. And my reply, Lisa twisted her lips as if she'd just eaten something bitter. You're not going to allow that anymore, right? I'm not doing this to play around. She scattered her strong emotions slowly with a deep breath. Her hair, which had started to stand on end, gradually settled, and then, at the end, she slowly closed her eyelids and gave a big sigh. I got it. I'll tell him that. Of course, I'll pay Hagana's compensation from that. Yeah, I don't doubt you on that. So then, what are you doubting me on? She was about to say something and caught herself, shut her mouth, and then smiled bitterly while refining what she wanted to say. In the name of Christ, I have to admonish to avarice when I see it. I guess we never come to an agreement in this life. Yep, although I understand that you aren't just a slave to greed. At least it couldn't be someone who'd offer his own assets so easily. With 50,000 mores, I was truly happy I got complimented and my lips formed a curve. Therefore, I'm not admonishing you furthermore. What? You are so annoyingly mature at this moment. Yeah. My face got more strained at Lisa's wry laugh. I scratched my head haphazardly and reached out for the rest of the meal. I'll hand to Hagana. If you could do that, then it'll be great. I didn't want to butt heads with Hagana over profits. Even if we could only partially disagree on something, I didn't think she'd be the type to back off. But how? Huh? Lisa asked me with a truly puzzled face from across the table. Who in the world did you meet? I intentionally scuffled down my meal with open up wide and didn't reply. She'd probably hate me if I told it was an arrogant resident of a greed-laden district. Nor did Lisa push any further. Thanks for the meal. Having said that, I forcefully ended the conversation. The next day, Hagana accepted the compensation terms readily and relayed over to Chris over the phone. They too accepted readily. The terms could be illustrated as such. Let's say we took in 30,000 mores and doubled its worth. Then 6,000 mores. 20% of the 30 would be paid out to us, for which I'd pay Hagana's share with programming and retain 48,000. So let's take that math, shall we? So 20% of the 30,000 would be, by my quick maths, 6,000. So that'd go up 24, which is fair. The small reward wasn't bad. On top of that, I was more insistent on this additional term to the agreement. That is, if we should lose money, then we wouldn't be held accountable. Anyhow, we weren't the ones who broached the subject initially. It'd be too much to then hold us accountable for losses. They wanted to gamble, not us. Chris's dad was so huge he made Barton look like a midget. And he had the dignity of a labourer. Still, he accepted all my demands and bowed deeply. Lisa had a sour look on her face, but it was we who had the skills and means. Being able to monetize such a skill to maximum extent was a totally natural thing to do, I told myself proudly. Besides, Hagana didn't have even an ounce of a talk of a conversation. And what happened to her losses in her head? Instead of that, while staring at 30,000 moors in Chris's dad bought, she muttered forcefully, "I'll make it grow lots." Hagana was right. I had noticed by Barton, but it wasn't the time to be making lazy trades either. However, I was myself surprised at the fact I didn't have to get worked up over Hagana's comment, let alone worry about it. Hagana's program was that good. With the exception of a few minutes of a day, it was constantly monitoring and analysed 1,000 stocks on the virtual market and 4,000 stocks on the real one. It was more accurate and performant than me trying to flip rapidly back and forth between those various displays until my eyes dried out. It can perform calculations similar to what I can do by staring at a single stock. We can do that on many stocks in a fraction of a second. Furthermore, a statistical spread that I'd only vaguely understood could be calculated exactly. It's shorter amount of time I'd had to spend per stock. Better still, I stopped chasing stocks at lopsided investment structures. It felt strange to me. Hagana's program can only find one money tree after another without needing to chase after dangerous stocks. So there's no point in taking an additional risk. My main workflow turned into buying and selling according to the program's instructions, then relaying what went well, and what went poorly back to Hagana. Next to me would be Kana, puzzling over results and solving arcane equations by hand, but I'd stopped asking her day to day what she was doing. As days passed, the number of Greek letters in Hagana's electronic notebook increased. Beta, Gamma, Delta, Theta, Kappa. All of them had mathematical meaning. The only one I could understand was Alpha. Amongst all the mind-boggling Greek letters of that popular investment theory, Alpha was one which had a simple and clear meaning. Surely Delta had a meaning as well. The profit delta is what you get with the difference between buying and selling. Simply how much better you are performing over the market average. There wasn't one thing more boring in the world than investing in the market average. Any monkey with money would perform as well as the market average by investing a little into every stock on the market. Anyone with a brain would instantly understand that taking care to avoid falling stocks would lead into easily winning over a market average. Alpha was an indicator of how much smarter you were than a monkey. My alpha value had its ups and downs. However, Hagana was trying to establish with a formula as a way of keeping my alpha consistently at my highest levels. It wouldn't be affected by my health, by situation and my mood. She was working out consistent best performance using the formulas. Hagana was sitting next to me, converting everything I did into formulas. Therefore, the more refined program got, the more free time I got, the more free time I got, the more I could trade calmly. Once I started trading calmly, I realised there was many things I didn't see before, and many things I didn't have time to feel out. Maybe the reason for my slump before teaming up with Hagana was the reason I didn't have enough breathing room. It was probably like sharpening a knife to a point where the edge would all be chipped. If I had to say one thing I wasn't too happy with, it was probably that Hagana's program was so good as I stopped living on the edge while trading. If I had time to get involved with dangerous stunts, it was better to spend time earning money safely. Reading the news, looking at companies' financial affairs, taking a read of the market, it wouldn't be strange to say that all-for-nothing trades were big gambles. Besides, right now, we were entrusted with other people's money, and we're already hitting it big, so there was no reason to take such dangerous risks. Interesting, that's the opposite of what that big guy Barton wanted. First, I was laughingly dismissing my thoughts with being boring and empty as loose as childish worries. My funds increased further over a week. I had 47 million more in the virtual market, and 92,000 in the real market. With a 30% increase, the Chris Dad part increased to the amount just short of 40,000 more. It wasn't a bad result in its own, so we were still far from resolving a debt situation. I made a haughty demand to Chris's dad, saying I would keep 20% of the gains and wouldn't take any responsibility for losses. However, I was little unsure whether or not the profits here would live up to my arrogance. A week after we took in our family savings, Chris came by nervously to ask about the results. Chris was uneasy, but I think I was more uneasy. In front of an uneasy Chris, Hagana laid out the numbers. It had gone up to 39,200. Hagana was stately in a proclamation. She was as stately as she was confident in the outcome. Chris was apparently way smarter than he could even ever imagine from how silly she appeared. Therefore, she should have been able to realise they were still far off from paying their debts, given that there was only 30% increase. Those haughty demands I thrust at them would have been expected that I'd have gotten at least halfway to a final goal. While thinking about how Chris might pick up on that, turning me off, Chris, who looked like a curly-haired puppy, looked at Hagana while trembling. Is that true? It's the truth. And then her legs gave way. I extended my arms hurriedly, but Hagana was quicker to get down. What I said was the truth. Hagana said that to Chris with a gentle expression on her face. She then took Chris's hand and squeezed them tightly. Chris stared blankly at her hands and then at Hagana's face in front of her. I can't believe what's happened, was written all over Chris's face. What I've said is the truth. Hagana repeated herself. Well, being able to pay off a loan was still a ways off. The 30,000 was what Chris's dad could bring out as a last hope. And taking that money into such haughty demands, not to make 37% of a goal was something I had confidence in. I felt a bit guilty. That's because this was my line of thinking. Seeing Chris's surprising reaction made me think of something immature. I pondered that not being able to see the pictures could calculate gains and losses properly was what rapport would always remain poor. Staying in poverty meant they didn't have any technical skills or talents. All they could sell was their time. Since all living beings had the same amount of time available, their time was cheap. People with technical skills get more money for their time, because innate talents were rarer and thus fetched even higher price. However, that road topped out with doctors and lawyers. To get over that hump, one would have to have something else to do the work. In words, one would have to become a businessman. However, one didn't just have to get people to work. One could also get money to itself to work. Therefore, paying off just the interest little by little, like Lisa, would normally have been a dead end. To break out of poverty meant to escape the opposite road. Entrusting a nest egg to us, then being surprised at just 30% increase, is not the way to go. Those were my thoughts as I stared arrogantly down at Chris. However, Hagana said the following. It's true. She could buy some shoes and clothes with her own money. My jaw dropped unexpectedly. And from here on, it's going to go up even more. You can buy shoes, clothes and bags. I think there'll even be money left over. This isn't something to cry over. I'm not crying. I mean, Chris burst out crying. Well, she said she wasn't crying. Hagana was unusually flustered. However, the person most flustered by this was probably me. Hagana's words peered deeply into my heart. You buy clothes and shoes. She didn't say that money was enough to pay off her debts, yet she rather said something more disgustingly practical. Chris's clothing was in various sizes and didn't fit her, and the shoes were whole-filled sneakers that were even worse of a fit. Telling her that it was better to buy something to replace them would have been ridiculously obvious thing to say, yet I didn't realise it until she said it. It totally didn't enter my mind at all. To Chris and Hagana, money was just that. It was the reverse of when I fussed those bills at Hagana, saying what I said was the truth. Again, I failed to realise what money actually was. I didn't really understand what it meant to make money in order to live. Before I'd stumbled into the church, I'd certainly used the money I'd earned to pay for board. That was just simply a matter of saving up money like my family could. Get my clothing and shoes. That was something dead obvious. For me, that statement only entered my mind when I was considering how I would save the money. Ever since I was born, I never had a situation where I could buy something if I really wanted it. There was these things I took for granted. Hagana and Chris lived in the real world. Chris. Hagana called out her name. Hagana's motionless expression was, in other words, a totally serious expression she would always wear. I'll make it grow more. While I was just plain crying, Chris was sobbing, staring at Hagana as if she'd come across the saviour of the world. Hagana nodded slowly, and then, raising one hand, she pointed at me. How? You're going to make it grow for us. Huh? I was floored at the sudden mention, but Chris looked at me with trusting eyes. She had beautiful blue eyes. Staring into those eyes made me feel dirty about thinking about always those bad things about her. I recalled, and Chris roughly wiped her face with her sleeves. Where she was sitting on the ground, she straightened herself up and looked me straight in the eye. We placed ourselves in your care. That was a polite statement. This is what we were really doing. Since our performance was enough to make Chris's legs give out, it was no surprise that more and more folks showed up with similar deals. There were acquaintances of Chris and her dad, not surprisingly, who owed to Yama money. Amongst them were many who Lisa knew, and whose troubles Lisa knew back of her hand. These guys had life savings like 10,000 or 30,000 moors, although some only had 1,000 moors of savings. Since they were willing to give me 20% of their profits, I had to shoulder none of their losses. There was no reason for me to decline the offers, because fundamentally, investing didn't really change the amount of money. The amount of effort required here wouldn't change, only the amount of profits. Furthermore, the feeling of helping someone out would be stronger as well. A total of 8 people came by to entrust their money to us. In a short time, our war chest increased to 200,000 moors. Now we can help lots of people. We sure can, Hagana. We can also end the episode. Well, as ever, thank you very much for watching. My name is still Fuds. Have a wonderful day. Bye bye. Oh, and my train's ended as well.